Hello, the Wizard Den here. Today I'm going to be speaking on why it's important to have balance, why it's important to be balanced in the occult, why you should do it. Number one, let's talk about the disadvantages of not being balanced. If you're not being balanced, you're being more prone to extremism, and extremism is anything, too much of anything. Okay, it's not what you would normally think of it, like people blowing up stuff. I'm talking about just people that call themselves left-hand path, and then they go way down the path, and then they end up, trying to remove their chakras, and, it can happen to anybody. I mean, it's just, when you start identifying with things and not detaching yourself and being balanced, you start to identify with a lot of things just because of ego and the fact that you claim a certain thing. You want to be a part of something, and you start to adopt beliefs as your own, as a part of, doing this journey of yours. There are a lot of people on the right-hand path that believe in aliens and the Pleiadians and sit here and trying to communicate with these aliens, and, then they do this chakra stuff, and they're the extremism on the opposite side of the scale. It's bad on both ends. Left-hand path and right-hand path both have extremists, and, no matter what side you're on, extremism is bad. You start to adopt beliefs that you have no experience with, okay? Also, you can be an extremist just in your daily life and anything at all. You can start to eat too much. You can have bad habits, grow too much in a certain bad direction. You could have good intentions, but because you're not balanced and separating yourself and detaching from these things, you're growing into a more of extremist personality. Now, let's talk about detaching, ego, all this good stuff. Now, detaching is the first step to being balanced. In order to be balanced, you have to detach from ways of thinking and ways of being. That way you can be in the middle. Because if you start to attach to things too much, whether it's left hand or right hand, up, down, fat, skinny, whatever it is, mean, nice, you start to take on, that again, and you fall back into the trap of extremism. So detaching from things and letting go of egoical constructs is the first step to being balanced. Being balanced is the process of being able to be detached and not gung-ho about something, right? And it's best for your growth. You're evolving. You can't evolve to the max potential of yourself if you are holding yourself back by not accepting certain knowledge, certain wisdom. If you're not communicating with angels just because you're left-hand path, or you're not communicating with demons just because you're right-hand path, you are limiting your growth. You are limiting the wisdom you could have, the knowledge you could take on, because you see it as evil or, against what it is you are doing. And it's really going to break you down and limit you from what you could become. This is another reason why balance is imperative. You need to focus on yourself. You need to focus on your growth. You need to focus on your inner peace. Now let's talk about peace. It's hard to be at peace when you are always attaching to things. You have more to lose. Whereas if you're detached from something, you're not going to be affected if someone starts talking about stuff, or if something happens in a group or something. Whatever the case, something happens in life or if you start to feel targeted because you are a part of something or you are attached to something, it starts to wear at you. It starts to encumber you. It starts to tear down at you, right? So being balanced across all ways of life is very important. Now, there is extremists when it comes to balance as well. Now, this is the construct of there is no such thing as evil, and that's a made up concept. That is extremism in the ways of balance. There are good, and there is good, and there is evil. Now, things like RAPE, murder, this kind of stuff is evil, okay? There is a such thing as evil, and there is a such thing as good, as giving to others, being kind and loving. Now, being balanced doesn't mean that you incorporate both evil and good. It means you incorporate both the light and the dark, which are completely different things, okay? We're talking about completely different concepts here. So you don't want to entertain the concept of there not being evil, because then you're getting into a philosophy that is too dark and twisted. And it's a made-up philosophy and essentially the left-hand path, but it's a very dark way of thinking, and you don't want to get twisted and stuck in that way of thinking, okay? You want to be balanced even in your balance. So you want to refrain from becoming attached, be detached, be a decent person, focus on your growth, take information from every direction that you can, as long as it will develop you. If you're working with dark entities, incorporate light entities. If you're working with light entities, incorporate a dark entity. You need to mix the energies, because if you're stuck in a dark current, you're gonna become very, very dark. You need to incorporate a little bit of light. That way you stay balanced. Same goes across the board. You really need to incorporate all kind of energy, all kind of knowledge, all kind of wisdom and power to really grow, and to be stable. As well as you need to be discerning. No matter what it is and who it comes from, you need to always discern what you are hearing and what you are taking in. You don't want to just take it in as a matter of factual evidence and factual speaking just because it comes from someone that you trust. You need to always discern whether you think that person is telling a fact, and if you think that this can be useful in your practice, or if you think it's bogus and you shouldn't add it. You should do this no matter what, no matter who it comes from. Elsewise, you're just going to be in a cult-like state of mind. And cult, in the form of just accepting and doing whatever someone says, is never good. Never good. You want to be independent and not rely on somebody else. This is another form of needing to be detached. All right, but that is all I need to say about balance for today. I'm going to make a part 2 where I go more in depth. So stay tuned for that. All right, peace, y'all.